we go. Good morning. Hello. I trust that you can hear me okay. I think you can. Got my trusty mic on. See my trusty mic on.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Hi.
Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see you. There, we'll jump on as we come on. It sometimes takes a minute, so that's fine. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to check my iPad and get on here too so that I can follow. Let's see.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for waking up early on a Sunday morning
There we
and
go.
coming into my living room.
Yeah. Oh,
Coming into my living room.
okay.
Spending time with us.
There we go. All right. So hello, first person. Hello, second person. I'm Natalie. This is Creative Makers, artists who can't stick to one medium. Thank you for being here. Today, I am interviewing Linda Kaye, poet, and probably everything else that I don't know about, which I'm excited to learn about. Because although I know you, I don't know you. So this is exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here. I love talking about myself.
Perfect. All right. So let's just get right down to it. I don't like to mess around. So the first and only question I really ask is I want to know about what kind of creative life you had as a kid. What did it look like for you?
Oh, there was nothing creative in my
Nothing?
childhood. No. Well, okay, I take that back. I wanted to be a performer from day one.
Okay.
Pretty much. You know, I lived in Northridge and, well, first in Reseda.
Which is a suburb of Los Angeles, you guys. Hi, Georgia. All right. Anyway.
Hi, Georgia. And I started doing shows in my backyard, you know, with curtains draped on, you know, towels or blankets, you know, as a screen, as a, you know, for a makeshift theater.
How old were you?
Then probably around 5.
Okay, wait a minute. So when I asked you what was your creative life like, you said nothing. But now, I mean, this is something.
I just remembered it.
Oh, okay.
You know, because it was just something that I liked to do. It wasn't something that I was inspired by anybody I lived with to do. It wasn't an artist family.
That doesn't matter. I mean, you found that. That was you right from the very beginning.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, I would ride my tricycle down the street, and if there was anybody in the vicinity, I would fall over on the ground like a clown, you know, make funny. You know, before they did it on Laughing, remember the guy would ride the bike and he would fall over?
And you would do that?
I would do that.
So did people think that, like, you had an accident or something and come over, rush over? And...
Nobody gave a shit.
Oh, my God. Lordy. All right, and then what happened?
I
mean, how did that sort of evolve through your childhood? I mean, did you get to go to acting classes?
No, nobody paid attention to me. My family, they were all doing their own thing. I had very young parents. And so I was just left alone to find my way and do whatever I wanted to do. And I became more or less a vandal. You know, Did
you have a really rich imagination as a kid? Like, were you constantly making up scenarios and putting yourself in them?
No.
Storylines? No, that wasn't part of that.
No, I was just looking for trouble.
What kind of trouble?
I don't know, ditching school. I mean, I never really went to school. I had to go to school because you had to go to school as a kid, right? You have to be in school. But I was always ditching, and I was always going to Bob's Big Boy and just hanging out and drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes and vandalizing the elementary schools in the neighborhood and just getting into trouble. So I really didn't, you know, go to school until later.
Okay, so what's later?
Later, in my late 20s. I mean, I wanted to be an actor because a friend of mine, this guy Maurice, that I met on the Sunset Strip at the Roxy, he said, you know, you've got that kind of personality that you should be an actor. And I went, really? How do I do that? And he says, well, my ex-wife just happens to be an acting teacher. Oh, cool. Well, how do I get involved with that? So he led me to her, and I loved acting. And so I studied it with her, and I went to other classes, and I tried to be an actor for about 10 years. I did it 24/7.
Wow. Okay, wait a minute. I want to go back for just a second. So was there college involved
Not
after high
yet.
school? Not yet.
No,
Oh,
oh no.
so during those early 20s, you were just sort of wandering around and vandalizing and having your life, whatever it looked like at that moment in time, but you weren't
Right.
like focused in any particular way. So let me also ask this question because, I mean, you're a poet now. Was the spoken word or poetry or fiction or any sort of that like on your radar at that point?
As an actor? No.
Well, I mean, as not even as an actor, just as you in those early years.
No. I had a writing class in high school or junior high, I think.
Did it inspire?
No, it was just an assignment. So I completed the assignment, wrote some stuff, but no, poetry didn't really hit me until 2012.
Wow, that was very recent. Okay, let's go back to your story. Sorry, there's little pieces of the puzzle in my head as I'm stacking
Like
it.
what? Like you did what? Like
Yeah, I'm
what?
trying to. I stack all the pieces in my head. It's sort of the way I work, and then
Yeah.
form it up.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point, you were. Tell me about acting. So, what did you do? Were you in plays on TV? Yes.
The only movie that I was in, I think, was Death Race 2000, and I was run over by Sylvester Stallone. I did plays, local 99 seat theater. I was at the Pilot Theater. I did Grease. I played Jan, and the actress was Drescher.
Fran Drescher.
Fran Drescher was the producer, and so I got into that show at the Pilot. She basically produced that show, Grease, for her young boyfriend, just so you know. But that's kind of a side note. So I was in that show, and so I did whatever anybody would hire me for. There's no money.
I was just going to say, and at that point, were you supporting yourself?
I was a temp.
You were a temp, so you were doing stuff on the side?
Yeah, I worked at all kinds of places just to make money. I was on food stamps. I lived in Koreatown at that point. It wasn't Koreatown yet, but I lived at 6th and Western. And it was a very dangerous neighborhood at that point, really dangerous. And so because it was dangerous, I started studying martial arts.
You studied martial arts too?
Yeah, I have a black belt in Kung Fu San Soo.
This is what my head's doing. All the little pieces that are stacking, they've just been blown up. Okay.
Blown up? I'm blowing her up, dudes.
It's just funny because when I meet people, I don't really know them, but I sort of have like a feeling for who they are. I have no idea who you are.
Okay.
This is amazing to me.
Really?
I mean, yeah, it's very cool. I really like it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so, all right, let's go back. So you were an actor and supporting yourself with temp work and acting for roughly 10-ish years.
Yeah.
And then?
I fell into a depression because I was a starving actor.
It's a hard gig.
It was a hard gig. Nobody wanted to hire me. I didn't know anybody. I mean, yeah, I slept around with a lot of producers, but just because I like to sleep around. I didn't hit them up for gigs, stupid me, but I was young and stupid. So by the end of that 10-year stint, I was really depressed. And my boyfriend at the time said, why don't you go into therapy and work out some of your stuff? And I said, okay, good idea. I've never worked out any stuff. I must have some. My mom was a drug addict, and so, I just dealt with that growing up. So, I probably had some stuff.
You might have had something, yeah.
So I went into therapy, and it really did open up a lot of things for me. And I realized that I'm going to have to quit acting and go to college and find a real job, a real career that's going to
Yeah.
earn me.
When you got to that realization, were you relieved or did it make you sad?
I'm the kind of person that just, like, if it's not working, I stop it cold turkey and move on.
That's a gift right there. Because, so many times in life, I don't know about, maybe you don't do this, and maybe I'm the only one, that, that works at something or stays in something way too long, way longer than I need to or I should have. And then you're like, oh, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Should have gotten out.
Yeah.
That's what a gift.
Thanks. Yeah, I just like to let things go.
Uh-huh.
It's like, oh, this isn't making me feel good. I don't feel good. I want to feel good. This is my life.
Yeah.
And I've always been selfish in that regards. It's my life. I'm going to live it how I want. And I know I'm a good person. I know I'm Hamish and I'm good to people. So I'm not worried that that being selfish, is a problem, because it's not. I just know that I need to do what I need to do for me.
Of course. Because if you're not happy, how is anybody around you going to be happy?
Exactly.
Yes. Okay, so you got to this realization, and then you went to college.
Yes, I went to Antioch University and got a bachelor's in psychology. And my therapist at the time, Bill Flaxman, he recommended I go there because at that time, Antioch was giving credits for life experience.
I went to one of those colleges as well because I got to 4-year college much later. Same thing, yeah.
Wow,
I got a whole bunch of credit for just being who I was in my life, and you did too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Badass.
It was an awesome thing.
Yes. So I got credits for everything I did, and I asked for the max. And I think they don't do that now. They got wise. But I got a bachelor's in psychology. But while I was in school, at Antioch, the talk was that you can't work right out of that school with a bachelor's in psychology. There were no jobs really,
right,
with a bachelor's. And so the talk was, you got to get a master's. But a master's in psychology, there's no jobs either. You have to have either a PhD or a license to practice, so there was more to that. And I was like, hey, I'm old now. I need to get a job right out of college to support myself. And so they were talking about social work. I said, what the hell is social work? I hadn't a clue. So I did some research and found out that you could get a master's in social work at various colleges, and there are jobs out there waiting for you right out of school. So I applied everywhere. It took 3 years to get accepted to a master's program. It wasn't easy.
What did you do for 3 years from the end of, your BA to your starting your master's? What'd you do in between that time?
Yeah, I sold sandwiches door to door in Century City, dragged a cooler.
Oh my God.
Remember those people in offices who drag coolers around? That was me.
That is insane.
Cleaned houses, did ironing.
Did whatever you could.
Yeah, it was cool. I was making dough. I was, in those days, $100 a day was good money.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so you in 3 years, what school did you end up finding?
I went to Cal State, Long Beach.
Oh, okay. So they took you in for the social work.
They finally took me. Fresno took me. UCLA couldn't bother with me.
Why did it take so long?
It's competitive.
Really?
Very competitive.
Wow.
I had to take the GRE twice just to prove myself.
Sheesh.
So they finally took me at Cal State Long Beach. I was so grateful because I lived in City Terrace at the time, right next to the 710 freeway. Bam! I was at the school like in 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's practically across the street from the college, this area that we're talking about. Hold on. I see questions, and I want to just do some shout outs here. Hi, Kathleen. Hello, Dale. Kathleen says, hi, everybody. Hi, Marshall. Hi, Cindy. I'm so happy to see you here. Cindy, I interviewed her a couple weeks ago. She is also a poet. And Cindy says she started her writing poetry seriously later in life too. Yes, after 50 she started.
Cool.
And knowing when to move on is a gift, right? Wish I knew that faster.
You're here. You're doing awesome.
I'm here.
This creative, this musician, artist.
All right. So you get into the university and you are now working on your master's.
Yes. I got a master's in social work.
And then you found a job.
Yes, I applied everywhere. I didn't know what arena because, there's a lot of arenas for social workers. There's school social worker, there's hospital social worker, there's mental health social worker. You can become a lobbyist with a master's degree, in Sacramento. I mean, there were so many avenues that you could go into, but I had no clue what I was going to do. So I just, papered the city and got some interviews, rejected some of them because they were too scary. And no, I don't want to work with cancer and children's eyes, I did work at children's at one point, but anyways, and so White Memorial Medical Center called me in. And I interviewed with the directors of the social work department and the director of nursing. And their whole interview was, well, we do a lot of potlucks here. What can you cook? I love them.
You're like, I found my people.
Yeah, I love them. So I went to work as a social worker in the ER, my first gig at White Memorial Medical Center in East LA.
And how did you like it?
Freaked me out.
I bet.
Freaked me out. But I was going to learn. I was going to do it. I had my wits about me.
Okay, so I want to ask, at this point, how old are you?
I don't go there.
Okay, never mind. Moving on.
You know that, right? Okay.
Moving on. All right. So, okay. So you have your first gig. You're in the ER. Do you remember what your first case was?
No.
Do you remember any cases that, I can't even imagine. What was it like?
Well, what happened was I was in the ER for about a month or two. And the hospital started doing some changes, and so they brought in a consultant, and so they started cutting positions because of this consultant. And so my boss said, look, we have an open position in the rehab unit. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't want to work with drug addicts. And
right, that might have been sort of close to home in some ways, right?
Right, but it wasn't that type of rehab. It was physical medicine, acute rehabilitation, which was spinal cord injuries, head traumas, burn victims, knee and hip replacements, and
anybody that was trying to recover.
Yes, and so they said, well, we'll put you there. You have an office, and we have a temp working the gig right now, so they'll train you, which she didn't. I was just thrown into the position, and I learned on the spot what to do, figured it out. And I loved it. I was in rehab, acute rehab for almost 10 years.
Can you tell, what would you do in your position? Like, how would you help? I'm trying to figure it out.
What the job is. So as a social worker, you deal with the staff, all the technicians and the doctors and the therapists, physical, speech, occupational therapists, and you deal with the patient's current acute situation, which is loss. So there's a lot of grief and loss
Mhm.
because somebody, okay, for example, new officer on the force falls asleep at the wheel, hits a pole, like 26 years old, is now a quadriplegic.
Oh, wow. Was that an actual case?
Yes.
Oof.
I have a lot of cases. So now I'm dealing with the family, I'm dealing with the patient, to how to adjust to illness.
Right. To adjust to the new circumstances.
Yes. And so part of my responsibility was to assess where they live. You're now a quadriplegic and you live on the second floor apartment. How are you going to get home?
Right.
What equipment does this person need? What help at home does this person need? What are the aftercare services that this person is going to need? That was my job.
So you were a problem solver.
Yes.
That's a great position. I like problem solving.
Oh, yeah. I have a podcast on problem solving.
You do?
I got interviewed for this podcast, and I don't think this site exists anymore. Puppy Water Entertainment. If you go to them, my podcast is on their wall. But it was all about problem solving.
Okay, so you did this for 10 years.
Yes, till my son was born. And he was born at that hospital.
Then did you continue?
I
Or
wanted
you
to
did
take
a
a
break?
year off to be with my baby.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Yes.
And then?
I was home for a year, and then I didn't really want to go back to work, and so I decided, with my husband Les, we figured it out that I could maybe go back part-time, and so I became a consultant for nursing homes all over California, Northern California, and Arizona. And so I was hired because I was licensed at that time, during my tenure and 10 years. I got my license to practice as a licensed clinical social worker. And so I was hired to be a consultant in nursing homes. And so I would go into all these nursing homes and I would assess what the social service designee. They're not a licensed social worker. They're not a master's level social worker. Some of these people had maybe an associate's degree, but they got certification to be a social service designee in the nursing home, which would help the patients in the nursing home. And so I would review charts and I would review their work and I would assess to see, are they doing the job per policy and procedure. And so I would write reports to the directors of those nursing homes and saying, look, you're missing this, you're missing that aspect of care. This is how you would solve it. I would problem solve. I would see that like a young person who's a quadriplegic who has nobody is just living the rest of his days in a room. And so I would assess, well, what needs are lacking here? How is this person reaching the world, or
how do they thrive?
Yeah. And so I would make suggestions. I would say, look, you can get them a computer, you can get them, they can move their fingers so they can use a knob, and you can get access to the world.
So you're finding every little way that you can actually lift these people into maybe something closer to what they recognized prior to their accident.
Yeah. Help increase the quality of their lives.
Exactly. What a lovely job, actually. All right, so you did this and you retired from this.
Well, not from nursing home. I did a lot of work in this community. I worked, like I said, I worked at White Memorial. Then I worked at Good Samaritan for several years. As a social worker in the hospital, working in the medicine field, in ICU, ER, cardiac units. And so what happens in the hospital is a doctor sees a need and they write an order for a social worker to assess it. And so I would get orders. And so I worked there for several years. I worked at Shaw Hollywood Press. I was the social work director at Shaw Hollywood Presbyterian for almost 10 years.
Now, during this time, are you missing acting at all?
No.
No? You never even thought about it? You're like, that's it, done. I'm out the door.
Oh, yeah. I was so engrossed in being a social worker. I loved it, and so I climbed the ladder and ended up being, supervisor. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I left Hollywood Presbyterian. I was let go. I was making too much money and they wanted to cut. So, middle management. So I lost that position. I kind of got depressed at that time. And, wow, what am I going to do? And my neighbor down the street, Karen, who is a professor and was a professor at USC social work department, says, "Oh no, with your skills, you're going to be teaching at USC." And I said, "What?" I was crying. I'm depressed. What do you mean? Oh yeah. So I was hired at USC and I taught in the social work master's program for 7 years while I was also working in the field.
Wow. That's, I didn't see that turn either. I didn't see that coming. Okay, so you don't teach, you don't do any social work anymore, and
No.
you don't teach anymore.
No, I retired completely from that world.
So was that about the time that you turned to poetry? And how did you find poetry? I mean, it's like black and white here. I mean, how did that even come to be?
Well, I was feeling very angsty all of a sudden.
Was this after you quit everything?
No. While I was still working at Hollywood Presbyterian, I started to get a little antsy, right? And I said, I want to do something creative in the artsy world. And so my friend Alan Palmer, who lived in the neighborhood, is a performer. He does stage and theater. And I said, look, I want to put together a little cabaret act. Can you help rehearse me? And he said, sure. And so I want to call it Linda's Kit Kat Cabaret. Because as an actor, I was a singer, a dancer. I mean, I could do improv, triple threat. I could do it all.
The triple threat.
Yeah. I was a triple threat. And so I started doing that with him and putting together an act. And I worked on it for about a year. And I wasn't feeling it. So I just put all my music sheets together and stuck them in the closet and said, all right, I'm not going to do this.
So for a year you worked on this, but you didn't perform it.
Right.
You were just working on it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And then, my neighbor at the time, Peanut Butter Wolf, who is a well-known local DJ. He owns the Gold Line Bar. He's Stones Throw Records, and he lived next door. And he said, hey, I'm doing a show over Center for the Arts for Don Cornelius, who just passed. I'm going to do a tribute to Don Cornelius, from Soul Train, who had committed suicide like the month before. I said, oh, cool. I'm a party girl, so I'm coming. So I went down there, and as I'm walking in, I see this guy walking in who's like so cute. He looked like a Mexican Johnny Depp, right? And I'm like following him in, to the show. And we started talking and hanging out and getting high and dancing and singing Led Zeppelin songs. And afterwards he says, well, what are you doing tomorrow night? I said, nothing. What's up? He says, well, I host an open mic poetry. What? What's that? He says, well, come on down. It's the Majestical Ruth in Pasadena. I said, what? Okay. So I went and I was mesmerized with this poet. His name is Ricky Love. And he was really amazing. And it was outside in the courtyard, right near the Old Town Pub, right behind it. Right? And it was a gift shop and gallery. And once a month they host this poetry, this open mic poetry. So by the next month I had my first piece.
So that's it. That's what lit your fire.
That would lit my fire.
How did you decide what to put in your first piece? I mean, did you research? I mean, did you know anything about? I mean, I assume because, but I don't write poetry myself, that there's some sort of organizational way to put words. You know what haiku, whatever. No.
No, no, I didn't think about it too much. I just like to just do whatever moves me.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first piece that I wrote was a song poem. Memorized it because, I had memorization skills from acting world. And it was called 20 Years Left.
Oh, so this was the very first poem you wrote. Okay, so what you need to know is that Linda just fairly recently produced a whole show called 20 Years Left. And it's about, coming to the realization of where you are in your life and you figure, oh my gosh, I probably only have 20 years left. What am I going to do?
Yes.
Okay. So that was what it was called.
Yes.
And then?
And I performed it.
How did it go? Were people receptive?
Yes. They loved me. And so I was doing this open mic now.
Now, this was 2012, right?
This was 2012.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so I just never stopped. And I've been producing shows. I've produced maybe 25 shows in the last 10 years, poetry shows.
It's funny when I think about poets and I think about poet laureates, I always think of you as the poet laureate of Highland Park or of Northeast Los Angeles.
Oh, thank you.
I do. Your name is always there.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. So tell me about, how do you arrange your work? What kind of topics do you like to explore, or does it vary? How do you get to things?
My process basically is I want to write something. And so I have accumulated thoughts over time that I put in notes. Thoughts just come up in my head, ideas, and I'll just put them in notes in my phone. Mm-hmm. And then I'll say, I want to sit down and write something. And so I'll look through and I'll see, oh, I want to write what that is. That is inspiring to me right now. I'm going to write something to that effect.
Now, are you usually called to things that are sort of more autobiographical to you, or it doesn't matter?
Nah, whatever I feel like, I write. I get things off my chest. Like, I wrote a lot during COVID. I was pissed. I did a rap music video during COVID because I was really angry at what was going on in the Me Too movement and all that was coming out, hashtag, that's enough, or whatever those hashtags were. And that whole genre of anxiety was coming out from everybody. And I was, and all the murders and the Briannas and all those awful things that were happening in 2020, I came up with this idea for a tongue-in-cheek rap music video called Racism. And so I asked my friend Mary if she wanted to join me, and we made this music video. So I just get inspired by whatever's happening.
Where can people find that music video?
Oh, it's on my website. It's on YouTube.
Okay. And your website being lindakpoetry.com.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I'm going to have to look for it.
It's under videos.
It's under videos. Okay. Linda Kaye, Kaye, poetry.com is Linda's website. And you said YouTube too. Okay. I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, my first film, Border Poets, is on there as well. I did a 20-minute film. I took okay. So when Trump got elected, I was in Havana, and I was like, what the fuck, right? And so I was really pissed. And in January, my friends had come back from this this spa in Jacumba near the border of Tecate, Mexico. And they said, you got to go there. And I says, yeah, I need to go there. I need to go get out of this town. I'm so pissed off at this, election. And as I'm driving down to Mexico, I notice there's already a border wall, right?
Right. Well, we have one. Yeah.
Yeah,
In San Diego.
that Clinton built, I think.
I don't know who built it, but it's been there a long time.
Yeah. So that was pissing me off. And then so I get to Jacumba and I'm chilling out in the spa and the mineral pools, and I'm looking at this place. I'm saying, you know what? This would be a great place, to do a poetry show. So I got inspired. I'm going to do a poetry show here at the border wall, in Mexico. And so I came back, and I just, for like 10 months, I started, posting information. Who wants to go with me? What?
So this is like 2017, 2016?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, 2017. Who wants to come with me down to Mexico and do a poetry show at the border wall? And a lot of people joined me, musicians and poets. And so we all went down to Jacumba. And I'm thinking over these 10 months as I'm putting together this production, I got to film this. So I hired a film company, Mud Productions, Alessandro Gentile and Marita Delatorre, Mud Productions, and I hired them to come down and film it, and I made a 20-minute documentary.
Wow. And is that on the website too?
Yes.
That's
Border
on the
Poets.
website too.
Border Poets.
So the poetry that you do, I mean, do you want to read something, by the way? I know that you have like some stuff right here. Do you have something short you'd like to read and share?
Well, I don't know. Maybe.
Okay. Think about that for a minute.
Oh, okay.
Or look for it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you already have it memorized.
Mm-hmm.
No? Okay. So are these things just coming to you? I mean, are you getting opportunities just because word of mouth, people are seeing what you're doing and they're finding you?
No, I make everything happen.
You make everything happen. So you come up with an idea or a seed, and then you're just moving forward gung ho.
Yeah. I mean, I put all the shows in here that I have done. Here's my poetry books. Here's my shows. All the shows that I've done. Here's the racism. They accepted it at the Ontario Museum, and so it was in this show. So here's all the shows that I've done all through the 10 years. Valentine shows, dinner shows, tango shows. Whatever I feel like doing, I just say, I want to do something. Let's do a show. I know everybody. I know all these poets and musicians, right? Let's do stuff.
Let's talk about the logistics of these shows, because, I mean, this is a wonderful thing to make all these things happen and to bring lots of other artists with you. But what about the logistics of money?
I pay for everything.
You pay for everything?
Everything. Yeah.
Do you ever make money on any of these things?
No.
No.
There's no money. There's no money in poetry.
You never know. I mean, there's people that do stuff.
Well, I don't do anything for money.
That is a really good point.
Yeah. I like money.
You do it for joy?
Yes.
Do it for love?
Yes.
Do it for experience?
Yes.
So everything else, but you never do it for money?
Never.
Do you find that money attaches itself to it sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah. I charged, for the screenings. I charged for my show at the Ebell Club when I did the original musical, right? At the Ebell, charged $15, which was nothing. The money that I made on snacks and tickets covered, the snacks.
Do you mind that there isn't like a monetary payoff in these things?
No, I don't give a shit about money. And I said that years ago when I was younger. I said if I really had given a shit about money, I would have gone into a different profession than social work. Social work, there's no money in social work.
I don't know. I mean, it's a job, and that's what you were after. And
Yeah.
it supported you.
Yes. I mean, when I got to my highest, place in social work, I was making 3 figures. And so I had climbed the ladder to that point, and I was making that kind of money.
You mean 6 figures, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what yeah. Yeah, I was
like,
making $300 a year.
6 figures.
6 figures. And then they let me go, because who
Right.
wants to pay a social worker that kind of money? But yeah, I would have gone into maybe law or something, that made more money.
You would have been great at law.
I would
And
have.
you would have been a great trial lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
All right.
yeah.
Let me Kathleen says, love her hair. Is it naturally curly? Are you also a painter?
I am not a painter, and it is naturally curly. Naturally blue, too. No.
It's mermaid colored. Flyers look awesome. Who created them? This is your husband. Your husband's asking who created it.
I don't know. I just hired some guy off the street, Les.
Thank you, Les. They are beautiful. So, okay. So what are your plans for poetry at this point?
Well, I just released my film. Thank you for coming.
You're very welcome. There is a documentary about the making of the cabaret show 20 Years Left. And that is on your website as well.
Not yet.
No? Is it on YouTube already?
Not yet.
Okay, it will be.
I want to screen it a little bit
Before you make
before
it
I
publicly
make
available?
Yes. And so right now with poetry, what I'm doing is I have a column called Poet's Place.
In a paper?
Yes, it's an online paper, the LA Art News.
LA Art News, okay.
So it's laartnews.com. And Kathy Milligan is the publisher, and she used to have a paper, a paper, in Nela, right? And she used to host, Second Saturdays in Nela and have, all the galleries listed on a map. And
I remember, yeah.
Yes, that's Kathy's paper. Well, in 2020, she hit me up and said, why don't you write for the paper? And I said, great, what should I do? Oh, I can host a column of poets. And so since January 2020, I've been writing this column.
So when you host a column of poets, what does that look like? Does that mean you find somebody that you like and you showcase their work that week?
What I'm doing is I put it out in social media and in my emails, and I say anybody can send me anything and I will publish it.
Does that mean the people in our group, or in this group, can actually send you poetry?
Please send me anything you write and include a short bio, lindakpoetry@icloud.com. And I will publish you whatever you want to write. You can write a short story, you can write a prose, poetry, a limerick, a joke.
Hello, people. Hello, Cindy. I know that you're paying attention, Cindy, because I see that you have a question that I'm going to address in just a second. Hello, Dale Potter. Hello, people in my group that are poets. You've got an open invitation to send work to somebody that could put your work on an online paper. So do that, and I will post the information to get a hold of Linda so that you can do that if you want to.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's pretty great. I mean,
it's awesome.
It is.
It's awesome. People even send me their artwork that I attach to their poetry.
Okay, Cindy Rinney. Hello. Cindy Rinney is also an artist. She does textile work and stuff, and she's exactly right. Right. Oh, Cindy's writing it down. Okay. Cindy also says, love that you put on shows. It's a lot of work. Yes, no money in poetry, but it's wonderful. She's concurring.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of retiring from that. I mean, it is a lot of work, and I'm exhausted.
You mean the show stuff?
Yeah, I'm old now, and My last two projects were to landscape my hillside and complete the film. And those two projects are done. And I've just been given the opportunity to go to France for an artist residency.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell me about it.
So, like I said, I was kind of done with these two projects. I really don't want to produce any more shows anymore. And so I thought, let me do an artist residency. What the heck? So I looked online and I found one that kind of checked the boxes for me.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't too competitive, that wasn't too expensive, that didn't have a fee to apply, because there's always a lot of fees attached to apply. And this one, it's called Studio Fair, and it's in Nerac, Nerac, France, which is southwest France.
Okay.
And, and it was an extensive application. It took me several hours to apply. And they accepted me. And I'm going in April.
For how long?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So what do they supply? And you had to pay to be in this residency?
Yes. But it's very, very affordable. It's only like $800 for 2 weeks.
Wow. That's amazing.
Those are the boxes I ticked. I didn't want something real expensive because there's a lot of residencies. It's a business.
Right. That it's turned into that. It used to be something like an award.
Yeah.
And now it's turned into a business for sure.
Yeah.
So what do they provide to you? What do you expect to do there during your 2 weeks? Do you have to have an end product at your 2 weeks? Because like some residencies say, yes, you have to, work continually on whatever, and then give us one of your works or whatever.
Right.
What do they want?
They did ask, what am I going to do there? So I said, what am I going to do there?
What are you going to do there?
I'm gonna work on my memoir.
Oh, nice.
I've already started it months ago, like last year, and so I've been working. I'm still in childhood, so I said, yeah, I'm gonna work on my memoir, and they don't expect anything at the end.
Okay.
Because I've been following them now on Instagram, and they have a lot of really cool artists there. They have writers, directors, filmmakers, painters, sculptors. And it's a small villa where there's maybe 3 or 4 artists there at a time. And I said, this is perfect. And one of the reasons I also wanted to apply for a residency is I wanted to go to Europe. So I said, let me apply somewhere in Europe. Get me there. So I'm gonna go probably for a couple of months to Europe.
So you're going to start, are you starting with your residency and then traveling after that?
I'm thinking of going like the 1st of April to Paris.
Oh, that'll be lovely.
And just hanging out in Paris and see where it takes me. And somebody said, take the bullet train down to Bordeaux, and then I'll do that maybe and get a car and drive down to my residency, stop in little towns and hang out. And then looking on a map, it looks like Spain is not too far.
Right. It's the next country
maybe
down.
Go to Barcelona.
Barcelona.
Yeah.
Also, Italy's right there too.
Italy. I'm gonna see if I can extend my travels for a few months.
Are you going by yourself? Or are you taking Les with you?
I'm gonna go.
Les is her husband, by the way.
Hi, Les. I'm gonna go by myself. I don't really want to go by myself. If anybody wants to go with me, I'm open.
Hold that thought.
Seriously, I would love to travel with some people. I really, I don't mind during the day being on my own, schmying around a little town. But at night, I want to have dinner with somebody.
Yeah.
Talk about the day.
Yeah. Figure things out.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to ask you, I think we're almost at time here. Let me check and see. Les laughed out loud, putting on shows. Okay. Everybody's still in here. I'm sort of wondering what time it is. I don't know.
Time to wrap up because I have to
Maybe.
pee.
Well, that'll affect things. Nobody's ever told me that on camera before. Thank you. All right. So you're going to do the residency and you're going to write a memoir.
Mm-hmm.
This is wonderful.
Yeah, and they want me to bring my film because they want to see it.
Oh, good. Well, I mean, do you have to really bring your film, or you just bring your phone and say, "Here's my film on my phone"?
I don't know. We'll see. I'll have a drive. I don't know if they'll have a projector. Maybe it'll just be on my iPad or my Mac.
Yeah.
Show it on my Mac. Whatever it is.
It's such an interesting thing that they want to comment, but okay. All right.
Whatever they asked. Because
Yeah.
I said this is what I was working on at that moment when I had applied.
Yeah.
Oh,
now I remember. I was going to ask you something, and I sort of lost my train of thought there for a second. So, okay, I promise we're going to wrap it up so that you can leave the room for a second. Well, okay, so you don't call yourself a painter, but you are a poet at this point,
mm-hmm.
and an artist. You call yourself an artist, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was going to say, but you dress like an artist. I see your creativity every time I look at you, and I have looked at you for the last 5 or 6 years. What inspires this? I mean, you have beautiful jewelry on. You've got this funky vest, this beautiful mermaid hair. I mean, this is an outlet.
Well, okay. My mother dressed gorgeously. She worked in fashion stores when she had a job, real job. And she would bring home beautiful clothes. And I loved it. I just was attracted to gorgeous clothes. I mean, they would send me home from elementary school because I was dressed inappropriately. Black leather boots, black leather skirt, and vest, matching leather vest in elementary school. They would send me home. This is not what children wear to school. And so this has always been me. I'm attracted to fashion. And actually, one of my first jobs that I wanted as a child was to be a fashion designer. And so I went to FITM.
Oh, I did too.
Downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they hated my designs. They hated what I was doing. I was doing purple satin bell bottoms with silver lame lightning bolts and, and big collars and, velvet. And they hated it because they were doing A-line gabardine skirts at that time.
Wait, were you in the fashion design program?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you get your AA there?
No, I bailed because they hated my work. And so I got into a rock band and went to Thailand and had all my fashions made there.
This is a part of the story that I didn't get to, we missed. How am I supposed to let you go pee when you drop bombs like on me like this?
I don't know, but I gotta go.
Do you want to go and come back?
Yes, I'll be right back.
Oh my gosh. All right. If you guys have any questions for her, I mean, I really am going to wrap this up pretty quick here. But if you have any questions for her, start sending them to me. And I'm going to ask her as soon as she comes out of that bathroom. I did not know about Thailand. I didn't know about the band. I don't know what band. I am speechless. Oh, Lordy. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody's comments so far. Do you have any questions for me? Oh, here we go. I would like to hear a poem. You know what? Me too. That's right. You have to, she can't hear me, but yes. Residencies are great opportunities to focus on your work. Have a great time. Yeah. Thank you, Cindy. I think so too. And I think doing a residency by yourself is the way to do it. I asked about her husband because I know he's here, but I knew when she said that she would travel farther and longer that maybe there would be a chance that he would join her or maybe even be invited to the residency as well. Okay, I see I would like to hear a poem. Yes. How does she find out about the residencies? She just went online and looked. And you can do that. You can just go online and put in artist residencies available. Some of them you have to pay for. Some are actually paid. They invite you to be someplace for a period of time. You tell them what you're going to work on, and then they say, okay, you can work on these things. Sometimes they supply materials, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they supply food, sometimes they don't. It really just all depends. And then a lot of times they ask you to either have a show or interact with the community or leave a piece of work or something like that as your payment for the residency. Those are for the unpaid ones.
Right.
Okay, so her trip to Europe, her residency, the 2 weeks that she's there, Kathleen, the $800 that she pays to be in that residency, it's paying for her lodging.
Correct.
So, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, you were very fast. Anyway, so I mean, anything she wants to do after that or before that, it comes out of her own pocket in terms of where she wants to stay and what she wants to buy and all the rest of that stuff. Okay, Cindy says, "Where's that poem that you were going to read?"
So Sienna, my son's fiance, hi baby, told me my mic was on when I was peeing.
I'm sorry, everybody. I didn't think of that. Oh my gosh.
That's hilarious. Okay, nothing that you haven't heard before.
This is even better. Okay, well.
So you were asking me about, cases and stuff that I worked on when I was working in the emergency room.
Yeah.
And in the beginning of my career,
here, move closer to me. I'm going to move over so you can.
In the beginning of my career, I worked with a lot of heavy duty cases, and all through my career I did. And when I decided that I wanted to write poetry, of course it's going to be poems about tragedies in my life, and that was one of the inspirations of writing. Is like I needed to get some of this out.
Yeah, of course.
Working with all these stories, these cases. I mean, I've worked in neonatal intensive care where babies are generally anomalies. I mean, I've seen it all, people. I worked Huntington in the trauma center. I've seen a lot. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases. But this is one of the first pieces I wrote in 2012, and it's called ER Visit. A 75-year-old woman wrote a suicide note to her family before she took an overdose of pills. Couldn't face the chemo and radiation treatment after being told she had cancer. A 40-year-old woman comes into the ER week after week with the same story. I'm depressed. I want to die. But continues to drink, turning her liver to mush. I tell her, won't be long now. Homeless man, psychotic, with no hands, asks if he can sleep one more hour before he goes back onto the Hollywood streets. In shock, I wait a minute. How do you find food? How do you eat? I asked, shocked and concerned about the situation. Stay right here, dude. Don't leave. I'm going to hook you up. I'm going to get you the services that you need. Don't go away. And when I return, he's gone. Right? That's just one day in the ER.
Oh my God. That was powerful.
Thank you.
And I'm feeling the tears behind my eyes, and I don't want them to come right now.
Wow.
Not right now. Oh my God. Especially the last one. I mean, being someone that needs to ask for one more hour of sleep,
Oh my God. It's tragic. So many tragic stories. I've helped so many people. It's just amazing. I mean, I loved my profession. I loved what I did. And when I lost my job at Hollywood Press, I thought that was going to be my final resting place, so to speak, before I retired. I had a doctor's appointment for my own physician, and I told him, oh, I lost my job. And I get a call that night from him. Hi, this is doctor. This is not a doctor call. This is a professional call. Give me a call. So I called him, and he said, I have a job for you if you're interested. He was the director of this program called Physicians Aid Association, a benevolent organization that helps doctors in trouble.
What kind of trouble?
Drug abuse.
Oh, that kind of trouble.
Financial problems, going to lose their license because they've gambled away their money, or
just okay.
Problems. They're human beings, right?
Yeah.
And my doctor says, there's just too many psychosocial issues that we as doctors in the organization can't deal with. We could throw money at them and help them, to get up on their feet. But these psychosocial issues are out of our scope of practice. And you are a phenomenal social worker. We would like to have you come on board as a consultant. They've never had a social worker on their team. They're all doctors.
Right.
And so that I worked for them for about 7-8 years before I retired as a consultant. And that was phenomenal. So I was doing that. I was working, my last job was at Gateway Psych Hospital. That was my last job before I retired, along with the consulting and teaching at USC. I was full-time. I was the clinical supervisor and therapist at the Wellness Center, which was outpatient mental health for previously homeless and people on Medi-Cal. And so I did that my last 7 years. I was a therapist and supervisor for a clinic, which I loved.
I think it takes a special kind of person to put themselves in a position where you are dealing with people that are having problems on a daily, hourly basis.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you have to be an actor. You have to enter the act and you have to be the person that that you are in that moment in time, but then you have to exit, because if you don't exit, I can't imagine what this starts to turn into. How do you get rid of it?
Right.
How do you release?
Well, number one, I have really good boundaries.
Oh, that's good.
Really good boundaries. I learned that, growing up with a drug addicted mother. You better have boundaries.
Right. Rules, yeah.
Yeah. So, I started writing poetry at the end of my social work career, right? 2012 I started, right? And it's not the end, because I retired in 2020. So writing poetry, making films.
So all of these artistic things help get things out of you. But during that time when you weren't pursuing these artistic things, how did you get them out then?
I didn't take it home.
You didn't take it home. You were just able to release it.
Well, every day after work, I would come home and crash for an hour. So mentally exhausted. Just crash.
I find it so interesting how everybody handles things in different ways. And this is definitely a way, if you're overloaded, and the way to release it is actually to get some rest, and give yourself some grace on that is the best way for you. Other people exercise, some people, drink, some people do drugs, whatever the case may be. Some people paint, some people draw, know.
Right. You need an outlet.
Yeah.
You have to have an outlet, because if you don't, it becomes toxic. it just, stays in the system, in the psyche, and it comes out badly, because it does hurt you.
Yeah.
It festers.
Yeah.
You have to get it out. You have to talk to your friends. You have to see a therapist. If you're carrying around a lot of bad stuff, it's eventually going to explode.
Yeah. It'll backfire on you. Okay, last check for, let's see.
This
okay.
is so much fun, people.
Kathleen says, wow, what a life. And Cindy says, thank you. Your poetry captures your personality and your heart who cares about others. And Sandy Garcia says, thank you for caring the way you do for others.
Oh, thank you.
All right, my friends. I think we're going to close this one up. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for sticking around and listening. This will be in the group, as always, at the top of the page to review later if you want to. I will put up those links and stuff for you to go ahead and submit poetry to Linda here so that she can put it online for you. All right. Have a beautiful Sunday. I will see y'all later. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.